You're listening to the Classic Gamers Guild podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Classic Gamers Guild podcast. A couple of announcements today before we begin. First, I'd like to welcome Anna Vigu to the show as our new official co-host. Hi.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. That's okay. You have equal voice to me now, so you can cut me off whenever you like.
Yay, I'm looking forward to this.
Basically, in order to help manage planning these shows between hosts with erratic and unpredictable schedules, we decided to enact a freebird rule, meaning that shows may proceed with any 2 or 3 hosts, even if one has to cancel at the last minute. Paul. Regular listeners will have no questions as to why we chose Anna after she took part in our previous Leisure Suit Larry episode and last week's King's Quest IV episode, which has been doing very well in the numbers. So thank you all for tuning in, and thank you, Anna, for being a box office attraction, apparently. You are not a box office bust. Get it?
Yeah.
As I have announced previously, on Saturday, March 28th, 2020, the Classic Gamers Guild is hosting Quest for Kidney due to March being National Kidney Awareness Month. It is a fundraiser which will benefit Stephen Alexander and the medical bills that are stacking up for his dialysis expenses. Follow us on Twitter at the CG Guild and Facebook. Search for us as Classic Gamers Guild. We have a page, we have a group. We'll give you all the details there. I won't waste your time too much on it right now, just for those of you who want to get to the episode. And speaking of which, we are welcoming back one of our regular special guests, Mike Albertin, primary host of the Games My Mom Found podcast. You can find him over at Podbean. Have you yet spent the $10 to get yourself a domain name?
I have not. We own the actual website, GameMyMomFound.com, but we have not done anything with it yet, but we do own it.
Okay.
So.
It's very easy to connect the two.
It hasn't happened yet.
Okay,
One of these days.
We'll leave a link for you to click on to send you over to their show. It is a great little time kill. They cover a lot of really cool games. They're really cool people. I'll let you get some plugs in if you like a little bit later on, but sure. We are all here to discuss one of my favorite games, especially of the platform genre I think it belongs to, American McGee's Alice from 2000.
The Tomb Raider we've all been waiting for.
Yes. The Tomb Raider we would want if we preferred underage girls instead of busty women.
Well, she's 18, I want to say. I want to say it's her 18th birthday when they first show the opening cutscene.
Oh, that's correct. Isn't it?
Yeah, because she'd been in a coma for years after the fire, and she must have been 18.
Right.
That's what the Wikipedia says in front of me.
18 in age, anyways. not so much in the if she's been in a coma for a few years, she's probably number one, still the mind of 15 or 16 and probably suffering some major brain damage. But hey, if you like it that way.
Yeah, take it grim.
They also don't sexualize her at all either, which I thought was an interesting piece too.
Yes, I do have to at least give it that much. I am just joking around here.
I know.
She is completely yes. Oh, I'm sure this could be taken out of context and used against me at some point. But yeah, so
Tomb Raider.
Let's you kind of have to bring that up once you bring up Tomb Raider, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But okay, so let's start off with everybody's opinions on American McGee's Alice. First of all, I know Mike, you covered it recently because you just recently played through it, didn't you?
Yeah, for the first time after I've been sitting on this game for well over 15 years, I'm going to play that one day, and I finally did.
Nice. And so you knew about it fairly shortly after it came out, though.
I want to say probably within the first 5 years. I wasn't a PC gamer, but I did know it existed.
Right.
It had a cool box.
Yes. So you knew about it probably roughly around the time that I first knew about it, except I actually did play it at that time because it came in this little bundle pack with a couple of other horror games. There's a Dracula game. There's Clive Barker's Undying. I understand that they were all actually pretty good games. I just never actually got around to playing them. I bought it specifically because of American McGee's Alice, because I heard it was good, and it was like a $30 bundle, and I lost the other discs at some point.
Did it come with the storybook that was like in the form of a psychiatrist journal?
Damn, I totally wish it would have, but no, this is just one of those, this was one of those bundles where they just came with like the discs and install instructions.
Mm-hmm.
If I'd actually had the big box release, then yeah, it'd probably come with like a lot of cool stuff. But nope, this was the aftermarket run, or whatever you want to call it, whatever you call those, like the, hey, we have a bunch of things, let's see if we can make a buck on these. And they clearly did, because I gave them my $30.
Well, it actually didn't really have anything to do with the game so much anyways. It was sort of a novelty item to get people more into the story, because I think American was really looking to get people involved a little bit with the character.
Mm-hmm. Because we knew nothing of Alice at that point.
Well, the Disney version of Alice and this version of Alice are a little bit different. She's not killing things in that movie. So,
well, it's funny because when I my girlfriend actually no, not even, like my friend at the time, before she was my girlfriend and before my eventual wife, I was telling her about this game. I was like, hey, I started playing this really cool game. This is back when we were just friends, so she pretended that she cared about video games just for my sake. She doesn't do that so much anymore, but I was saying, like, hey, I played this really cool game. You probably like it, just because it does seem like something she would like, where it's like, hey, it's like Alice, but it's like a darker take. She her family burns down. She goes to a mental asylum. She's like, isn't this Return to Oz? I'm like, shit, you're right.
But, where's those Wheelers?
But it was really cool to see this like dark interpretation of Alice and Wonderland, especially because, basically the story is that she undergoes this severe trauma of, personal tragedy, and Wonderland, which takes place in her dreams, got corrupted by her mental trauma and nightmares. So Wonderland is now this hellacious place. And all the characters that she knew are just like these really weird, twisted versions of themselves. And, it's a platform game, so she has to kill everything.
Which I didn't expect that. Like, when I first played this, I didn't really know it wasn't much of a platformer going in. I was like, it wasn't for the fact that I could save whenever I needed to, I would not have been okay with this game. Like, I'm not good at platformers. I would have been on the desk, and I probably would have gave up. But there's some really tricky platforming in this game.
Yeah, there is. I think there was a maze I got stuck at for quite a while. I forget what level that was. There was some sort of a maze, or maybe it's not even a maze. Maybe I'm so direction blind that it seemed like a maze.
Well, there is a maze. There is a maze near the end, but there's also parts where, like, you have to jump on something that's moving while you're also moving. So they do some very complicated, it's like Castlevania jumps. That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to see where you have to go, and even when you do know, it's hard to get there a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thankfully, those moving platform bits where it's like I'm on a moving platform, I have to jump to a moving platform, those weren't quite so bad for me because I did grow up playing Ultima 8, which was far worse and far more unexpected. So at this point, I was kind of like, yeah, that's fine. At least I expected something like this here.
Never played an Ultima game.
Okay, I am disconnecting you in 3, 2.
Sorry, yeah, it's just you and me now, Rick.
I just never have yet.
Now, I've always loved games that are based around asylums anyways. I mean, or at least have a starting point as such. Sanitarium, John Saul's Blackstone Chronicles. In this game was... Which one?
Do you know Countdown?
No, what's that one?
Oh, you'd love it. Point and click.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's exactly what you described. You start in an asylum.
Countdown. I love that. Okay, yeah. No, this one had a great balance of action and story. It was pretty linear. I mean, other than puzzles, you weren't exactly exploring every little nook and cranny. It was kind of guiding you around. Mm-hmm. The weapons were fun. I mean, the cards, that was great. They had some distance. There was a jack-in-the-box that was ineffective. I think there was an explosive one that was kind of fun. I loved the chess scene stuff. I thought that was really well done. It looked really cool. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they used the Quake 3 engine with this. I mean, they really gave it a workout.
Like, I appreciate that someone else liked the cards. And we talked about it on my show. They did not like the cards, but I loved the card weapon. That was my go-to weapon for like over half the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they hated it. I'm like, what are you guys talking about? So I'm glad someone else agrees with me.
So are you playing it on easy, medium, hard, nightmare, suicide?
I played it on easy.
Yeah, me too.
I must have played it on easy, because there's never been a time where I've actually passed a game on a level above easy.
It's hard. Like, this game, I could see it being very difficult, and especially like nightmare difficulty, because even in easy, if you get trapped in a small area with enemies, they will rip you to shreds. I mean, they can quickly. I mean, you get a lot of health. Like, almost every enemy gives you health and magic power up, so you're constantly at full health, but you can, plus I think you want to, no, you don't have a region, but there's so many health pickups that it doesn't matter. Like, you're able to get enough health and go into most fights fully ready to fight. Mm-hmm. Which I like this. I like that.
Mm-hmm. This game could have been a little bit different. They had some alternative ideas running. There was Alice in a trailer park. She had abusive parents. She comes home one day and the stepdad bonks her over the head with a beer bottle. And then Wonderland takes place while she's passed out on the floor. Or alternatively, Alice is a little raver girl and she goes to a rave and she does the wrong combination of drugs and ends up on a bad trip. And the story is centered on her fighting to get back out of that trip. She's like flashing back to reality in the club or in the ambulance or in the hospital, but they ended up going for what we saw, the psychiatric
spin. That was a very good decision.
Right?
Given the alternatives. I think that sounded cool. The right choice.
Rave sounded cool, but then it couldn't take place in 1874. There was no raving in 1874. So
when they remake this one, they might look at with a different spin. I mean, there was supposed to be a cartoon, right? I mean, I haven't heard anything about it since, I think, 2017, but Alice Otherlands, an animated series, and Alice actually goes into other people's minds and reveals what lives in their self-conscious.
That sounds cool.
Yeah, I would if there was any news after the Kickstarter, like, was super duper successful, but I haven't heard anything since.
Well, I think EA has the rights to this, I want to say, or does American McGee still?
I know it's kind of weird. Very good question. Does anybody know the answer to that?
Well, it was published by EA, so I'm going to guess it's owned by EA.
Okay, yeah, I think he has the right to make new ones, and maybe. Because I know there's a third one supposedly coming at some point.
Okay.
That's what they say. Yeah, because there was the second one was in 2011, Madness Returns. Yeah, the next one's supposed to be coming out soon if it does. Have either of you tried Grimm?
I just learned of Grimm, like, while I was researching this this episode, so I do want to actively track it down and give it a try. I don't, if it's available for legal sale and distribution.
Of course. It's pretty weird, right? You've got like this dwarf, he creates darkness, and he's sick of how sweet fairy tales are, and he wants to revert all lighthearted fairy tales to their darker, grim version by converting all our objects to dark. And that gives him power. So
sounds interesting.
No, it does sound really cool, and Grimm's is definitely a really cool source to base upon. Just
don't read the reviews. You should be fine.
If you're going to source all of Grimm's, you have a lot of lore to work with.
That's true.
Like, one thing about this game that I thought also interesting, how they make her a very snarky character. Like, one of the early scenes, she's talking to Cheshire Cat. She's like, "There's more than one way to skin a cat." And he's like, "I prefer if you don't use that term." That made me crack up.
The Cheshire Cat's awesome in this game.
Mm-hmm.
There's something about him that's just he's just, I don't know, he's just really cool. He's just sort of more he's a little bit more sinister. He's got that little purr to his voice where it's just kind of like that. I don't know, he's almost kind of taunting, but also kind of being helpful.
Helpful with quotation marks around it.
Yeah.
That's a good way to put it. Because he does point you. Like, that was one thing nice to let me know I'm going the right direction. When he would pop up and start talking to me again, I'm like, okay, I'm in the right way. Because every so often I did get lost a couple times in this game.
Yeah, it's a relief to see him.
Yeah, I was looking at what American McGee did before. I think this is the first game that's actually labeled as American McGee's. And before this, he worked on, like, Doom 2, Quake, and Hexen. I'm kind of like, yeah, this pretty much is Alice as interpreted by a guy who worked on Quake and Doom 2. That's, I had very little knowledge of what he had done previous to this until I just looked it up, and this guy has a little bit of pedigree to him.
Yeah, he became buddies with Nine Inch Nails frontman Trent Reznor, and so he ended up providing music for a bunch of the games. You're like, cool, McGee's like hanging out with them on tour and at the studio and making friends with like Marilyn Manson and all these other people. And
see, I didn't know any of this, and I am absolutely 0% surprised.
Right. No, this guy is wild, man. I mean, he when he was 11, he got his first computer from his uncle, who sold like only early 1980s Timex Sinclair portables door to door. And he just wanted to unload the last few before he got out of business. So he's just like, here, kid. And this kid who's like a super genius with super eccentric parents, they were going to name him Bognard, but they changed their mind. They went with American because his mom knew some lady who had a daughter that she named American anyways. So he's just like, yeah, we're going to explore BASIC and we're going to get on with this programming stuff.
Well, once he found out he was about to be named Bognard, I'm pretty sure he wiped the sweat off his brow.
Yeah.
That's a terrible first name. I feel like.
Why was that even in consideration?
You have to ask his mom.
We could name him American or we could name him Bognard. Let's flip a coin.
But no, she ran off when he was 16. He came home one day to an empty house. His mom and his stepfather were gone, and he was just on his own from there on in. So there you go.
All right, that's that explains a lot, I think.
I was the exact thing. I hadn't gotten there yet. Yeah. Like you were mentioning earlier, like they do a really good job of changing up all the characters. We'd mentioned Cheshire, but even I want to say it's a caterpillar. It's just super strange as hell. Like everything is like a twisted version of what you would know as a kid from the famous Disney movie.
Yeah,
that was his passion. He was actually kind of against the Disney movie. He was more into the darker side of things, and his fantasy was to be able to bring it back again because Disney was removing it. It was there with Grimm's.
Well, I'm actually a really big fan of the original book, Alice in Wonderland, even more so than Through the Looking Glass. It's actually one of my top 5, possibly top 3 books of all time, just because of how well it's written. And I think one thing you don't really pick up on as a kid until, or at least I didn't until I read it as, I guess I was like 20 something when I really sat down and read it, and it was just... Alice in Wonderland, that first book, is like the funniest book I've read. If you can actually get the humor, like if you're really in the mindset to pick up on some of the subtleties, I would put it up there as like funny alongside like Hitchhiker and such. It's
I would definitely rate it in my top 10 as well, and I've made sure all of my boys have read it with me. Reading it out loud is a treat.
Oh, I can imagine. If I wanted kids, I would totally look forward to that.
It's the best part, getting to all those books.
Quite a few episodes back, I can't remember, it seems quite a long time ago now, we actually did an episode of which classic game characters should have joined the Avengers in Endgame. My number 2 pick was Duke Nukem. That's kind of a little bit obvious. I actually chose number 1 as American McGee's Alice, because number 1, it's already kind of part of Disney, and number 2, I just thought that'd be like the coolest character just to see in amongst the Avengers. Just like this dark brooding kid that everyone just sort of thinks is like a kid they have to protect. She probably doesn't say much, and then just sort of like as soon as they have to fight what's his name? They have to fight Thanos' armies, she just like goes out there with like
she's popping out her croquet mallet.
Yeah. She's got like the blunderbuss and a Vorpal blade just slashing everything, just going nuts.
Beautiful.
Hey, it could work. I could see it.
Oh, I would love it. I would totally go for that. I'm sure they have some sort of rights to Alice, right? Or at the very least, it's probably like public domain, so anyone can use her.
It should be, I feel like, but public domain is kind of weird now thanks to Disney, but that's a whole other story.
Yeah.
Because Mickey Mouse should be public domain, but it's not. So...
Yeah,
Doesn't
I know. Well,
Disney now own public domain?
Well, Disney... Mickey Mouse came up quite a few years ago to be released to the public domain, but of course Disney appealed it, so they actually changed the law. So it is still legal. They just extended it so that Mickey Mouse will remain the property of Disney.
Yeah, that will keep happening too. I feel like.
And it'll continue. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it'll happen in perpetuity.
Yeah, so. They made the strings. They can pull any strings they want.
Well, it wasn't made by them. They were just using the licensings of all those old fairy tales to make movies that ended up becoming real famous. Exactly. So it's probably not in their wheel. I mean, they might own some rights to it, but I'm pretty sure it's probably just got to be public domain by this point. I want to say it's the 1800s when the first book came out.
You would think I would know this since it's one of my favorite books, but guess what? Surprise! I don't.
Well, the game takes place in 1874, so that's why I feel like it's from that time. Mm-hmm. But I can't remember. I'm trying to look it up right now as we speak. 1865. So yes, 1800s.
Yeah, I would say that the what do you call it? I would say it's probably public domain by now. I think copyright has expired.
Yeah, I think when you download those free e-readers through an app, that's one of the books that automatically comes with it.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
I know Treasure Island's on there too. I once tried to read that. Didn't get
Have
very
you?
far, but...
I haven't made it through that one all the way either. I'm glad I'm not the only one.
No.
I do own a copy of Treasure Island.
Have you read a copy of Treasure Island?
I said exactly what I need to say on the matter.
No more questions.
Like another thing about this game that really surprised me is how much I enjoy. If we mentioned earlier, how much I enjoyed all the different weapons. Like I enjoyed the cards, but my favorite weapon in this game was easily that ice staff that she gets. Mm-hmm. I just love that freaking thing. I used that almost the entire second half of the game.
Right,
such an awesome weapon. I don't know why it really connects with me and freezing people with ice.
No, ice is always a great weapon in any game. I think every time I've used it where you could freeze someone and smash them has been pretty fun. But I'm just really glad that you had a good time with it, playing it not very long ago.
I did. I was surprised.
Because this is one of those games that I really thought was like, maybe it was really good for its time. And I'm not sure if it really aged very well because, as we keep moving forward, game design improves and improves. So, when you consider that this was 20 years ago now, you'd imagine maybe something didn't quite hold up in that time. But I'm really glad to hear that people can still enjoy it.
Still good. I mean, I want to say all four of us really enjoyed it when we reviewed it. Like it's still a good game, even when you have no connection to it.
Right.
Yeah, I think it was designed to be a console game initially, but he wanted to put it on the PC first to prove it could be done. I don't know. Have either of you heard of it being on another system?
Not the first one, no.
Okay.
I have.
Yeah?
It was supposed to be on PlayStation 1, I think, or something like that, but I know what she's talking about. I have heard something of that nature before.
Yeah, but it didn't actually make it to it there.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I forget, but I do feel like I can't remember these details, but I want to say that I do remember reading something about that when I was researching this.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't remember now. So.
There was a thing. It happened.
It would have worked, though.
Oh, yeah. I mean, totally. When you play it, totally work.
I would have played it a lot sooner than this year if it would have been on consoles.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, have any of you played the sequel then? Madness Returns? Not yet.
I will be, for sure, but not yet.
How about you?
I would like to say the same, but I have kind of been putting it off just because this is one of those games where I'm sort of like, I just didn't really feel the need for a sequel.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess, I don't know, I've heard very mixed things about it anyways.
It's supposed to be really good.
I imagine I should just give it a try at some point, because I did really like the first one, as you can tell, has been pretty well established by this point.
Yeah, the scene where she wakes up in the institution, right? It's a great scene. I mean, just the shot of that one where she's in the institution right before.
The shot where she's lying in the bed with the white rabbit stuffed animal. That was actually my desktop wallpaper for like 10 years almost.
That is like the coolest screen ever.
Yeah, I screenshot that and then just put that up, and that was Yeah, that's it. Seriously has been like, if not actually 10, then pretty close.
Mm-hmm. Good choice.
It's just a super creepy storyline when you think about it. Everything with her family gets burned. She kind of blames herself, and that's why she's in this nightmare wonderland. Like, it is. Mm-hmm. It's creepy. Mm-hmm. And they do a good job of really showing Wonderland so messed up and changed by what happened, by the trauma she suffered. Like, you can really see it throughout this game as you play it. Like, it does a very good job of that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's really cool to see a lot of these characters being reinterpreted for boss battles.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, like the one where she eats you. That was fun. I hated that one so much.
So hard.
I mean, like, and you know you're eventually going to have to fight the Queen of Hearts. You know you're definitely going to have to fight the Jabberwock. But then it's like, Tweedledee and Tweedledum. It's like, oh, okay, I guess I got to kill you guys. Sorry.
Sorry, guys.
That wasn't so bad. The Jabberwock was a little bit annoying the second time, but...
Yeah, but...
That's... The Centipede bugged me the most, I want to say. That and the Duchess.
Mm-hmm, Duchess.
I hate the Centipede.
I actually don't remember the Duchess anymore, but I do remember... the Centipede being a challenge. I don't remember hating it, but I do remember it being tricky. But I don't remember the Duchess at all.
The Duchess is the first boss that tries to eat you, and you're like in a big a big cabin. You have to just run around and hit her, but you don't have a lot of weapons at the time. You only have the knife and the cards, so you're limited what you can do. But it's annoying.
I'll have to look that up. I think if I see it, I think I have to see it before it'll really come back to me. And this was like, I did play it like 2004 or 5 or something like that. Like, it was some time after it came out, but quite some time ago now.
Same for me. Yeah, I tried to load it up on my Windows 7 system, and it just it wouldn't go. It installed, and when I clicked on it, it didn't go.
Is there by any chance a patch through ScumVM?
Ooh, I didn't even think about that, and I have Scum on there. Thanks. I'll look into that.
I'm pretty sure there's a way to run it like that. Mm-hmm. I ran it on a Windows 10 machine.
Okay, yeah,
really?
Because I was going to dust off the old XP machine, but if I don't have to do that, I'll throw it on my main computer.
Yeah, we can talk after the show, but yeah, you can make it run.
Yeah, okay, thanks, Mike. I appreciate that.
So, no problem.
Once the mics are off.
Yeah, I won't say it on here.
Thank you.
Well, I was surprised, like, with the Queen fight. I mean, that fight was just very, very epic, and it also kind of really wraps up the story of this game and really shows you how it is you are in her head fighting her creation of what happened to Wonderland, which I thought was really interesting, the way they presented that to you.
Mm-hmm. That's what I remember taking a long time, because it was never hard enough that I would die very often, but it was hard enough for me to win. Sorry, it was hard enough that I couldn't win it, so I did a lot of running around and jumping around and hiding and trying to recharge my weapons. And it took a long time. That's all I really remember about that one. It's just, it took a long time in one fight.
It's not super fast if you don't collect the little red crystals that come after enemies. Otherwise, it does take a while. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Especially if you use like the blunderbuss, where it uses up all your magic power in one hit. Useless weapon. I used it like twice. I hated it. Like, another thing about this game that I thought was very interesting is that, like we mentioned the boss battles, the weapons, and all the platform, but the way that some of the enemies that you fight are just like, they're comical, but at the same time they're frightening. Like, you fight giant ants when you're all shrunk down, wearing Confederate clothes, or Civil War clothes, I should say, American Civil War clothes. And it's just funny seeing characters wearing the blue jackets from the Union soldiers or the gray jacket from the Confederate soldiers from that time. It just, to me, I'm like, why is this in here? And then I remember, oh yeah, it's 1874. This would be much more recent history to her than it is now, where it's been, hundreds and hundreds of years.
Mm-hmm. This is happening now. This is news as it happens.
So it was very interesting how they pulled that off.
So I see one little trivia bit here where it says that American McGee stated that he listened to Crystal Method's Trip Like I Do from the Dark Crystal and Rob Zombie's Living Dead Girl to figure out the tone of the game. Once again, I did not know this previously, but I am 0% shocked by any of this.
I'm not either. I didn't know that part, but I am not shocked either.
Well, his
I do want to ask you, what did you guys think of the chess world when you have to move the chess piece and fight chess pieces?
Yeah, I loved that.
I vaguely remember that, but
it's great. It doesn't explain, like, you have to control a knight, and it doesn't explain how a knight works. So if you don't play chess, you're not going to know it moves in an L, and I knew how it worked, but I still died because I was being stupid. But it was so cool to get to do that.
Yeah, I was lucky. I grew up playing chess with my dad, so...
Yeah, I think that's probably why I don't remember it too well, because I know chess pretty well. I'm not good at it, but I know it very fluently.
Oh, I didn't say I was good at it, Ray. I know what the pieces do.
Yes, that's exactly my situation. I am fluent in the rules of the game, not how to actually win. But so
it's also near the end of the game.
I probably did not.
Last worlds.
Anytime there's a puzzle revolving around chess, including Seventh Guest, I usually get through it pretty quickly, so it never really lingers. Probably one of my favorite moments is I think it's pretty early on in one of the levels where you see these little golem-like characters. They're not enemies, they're just around. And there's like this one who's like constantly punching himself in the face. I don't know if you guys ran into this guy, but it was really creepy because he's like, he's backing off really scared as if from a bully. And it turns out that the bully is just him punching himself in the face.
Is this those creepy kids?
Enemy.
Yeah.
I know, like, later on as you're running around like an asylum part world, there are these creepy little kids that pop out all over the place. So that may be what you're thinking of.
Possibly. Again, it is all a bit of a hazy memory. I kind of didn't want to play it again, just because I wanted to kind of capture exactly what it was like playing it back then. But the downside of that is that I remember very few details.
I wasn't big on the underwater swimming sections. I mean, there was the whole limited air supply thing.
It's not terrible.
No, it's not terrible.
It's actually pretty good.
I've never been a fan of the underwater levels. Maybe it was Mario that tainted me. I don't know.
I think a lot of people who played the underwater levels in this game have been through so much worse for underwater levels.
They're bad, but I didn't hate them. But I do know what you mean. Like, for me, I'm like, it wasn't. It could have been a lot worse. They're interesting. They're weird. They're very weird, but interesting in a way. However much sense that makes.
In this game, it does.
This was actually apparently EA's first M-rated game.
Really?
Apparently so. And
you learned something new.
This is one that American McGee actually tried really hard to get. Like, he really wanted it to be M-rated.
It deserves it.
Funny.
Apparently he did not. Apparently he actually did not want this to be sold at Christmas time.
He didn't get everything he wanted. He didn't want his name to be on the title. He fought against EA for that one. But you know what? They saw it as a way of branding and a way of protecting the name legally. And they saw that as a brand that they could use in the future as well.
Yeah, it didn't happen exactly like that.
Not quite.
I want to say there was a falling out between American McGee and EA, and that's why this original game cannot be found anywhere on PC currently, legally. It can only be found legally if you buy a copy of PS3 or 360, then you can download the original one on your that way. Only way to get it right now. Right. Unless you go on eBay and pay $200 for a box copy.
Yeah.
So, which is sad because this is such a great game that I wish more people could experience, and it's kind of tough to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's stuff you just don't see, like the Mad Hatter. He's like unleashing rockets and clockwork armies at you, and it's just wild, right? Don't see that stuff everywhere. The Duchess's final sneeze, it's like top of her head is just like it blows right off.
I couldn't remember that. The Mad Hatter was creepy as hell. Like, he steps on the rabbit, just kills the rabbit at one point. I'm like, oh, that's not how I remember it was going.
That's right. That's right. I do remember that.
Just kills him.
Yeah.
Just squish. It's messed up.
Yeah, I liked it a lot.
So dark.
Yeah.
Like when you fight the card soldiers, you can cut, like a lot of times if you stab, well, I didn't use a knife very often, but if you stab them with the Vorpal knife, she'll cut them in half and blood will come shooting out.
Mm-hmm.
And it still looks cool. Even for a game that's 20 years old, it still looks cool.
Yeah, and one context that a lot of people who don't know this game have to really realize is that this was a bit before, I think it just beat the curve of when like dark, gritty reboots really became a thing. So it was pretty novel at the time to see like, hey, remember Alice in Wonderland? Yeah, now it's going to be dark. And you know, at this time, that was cool. Like, it wasn't cliche.
I think it's still cool, but hey, I might be in the minority.
Well, now it's just been done to death. And now, as soon as I see like dark, gritty reboot, it almost makes me kind of groan.
Hey, Dark Knight was gritty, and that's an amazing movie, so I guess I can...
so I'm a little biased. That is definitely an argument in favor, but eventually we'll be getting to, like, the gritty, realistic Smurfs or something like that.
Oh, you know?
I mean, we did get a Smurfs movie. It's okay. My son loved it, and I watched it way too many times, but...
Yeah. Look, they tried to make Sonic more realistic, okay? Can I leave it at that?
Oh, God, that original... I'm so glad they fixed that.
Oh,
so
gosh,
glad.
yeah. So bad.
I wouldn't mind seeing a movie of this Alice, though. Like, I feel like you could do an interesting movie with this type of setting. Mm-hmm. We won't get one, but it would have been cool.
Yeah, I agree. I agree in theory. I think it would be hard. Like I said, it kind of does come in the shadow of Return to Oz, which is sort of like which kind of beat American McGee's Alice in concept by quite a large period of time.
I think it would work okay as long as we had Rob Zombie direct it.
No, that is both a great and horrible idea.
Right? I mean, his movies are pretty epic, so. And I mean, the guy is hella intelligent.
Okay, you're right. Okay, now I couldn't remember what Return to Oz was, but now I remember I rented this movie randomly at a Blockbuster, and I was not a happy kid when I'm like, what is this?
You were a kid? Oh gosh, those trailers. It's a bit disturbing. It's good though. TikTok.
It was terrible. I hated it. I hated the movie. I only seen it, and I never went back to it yet, but I saw parts of it all as a kid. I'm like, what? This is terrible.
Yeah.
I can remember that.
Well, that's kind of the funny thing too, because there was actually at one point where there was actually rumors of American McGee's Oz. I'm like, that's happened. You don't need to do that.
Yeah, I forgot that movie existed. I vaguely remember that robot and not liking it.
Oh God, you're going to be traumatized for the night now. You're going to wonder why you keep waking up in a cold sweat. You're like, not that movie. I don't want to return to Oz.
It was a terrible movie. It was so dark, and I like Wizard of the Oz. I'm like, what's going on here? This is not a sequel I want to watch.
Why are the trees so mean?
I definitely have to say you have to watch Return to Oz in the context of Oz the same way that you play American McGee's Alice in the context of Alice. It's just kind of like, you kind of have to take it as related, but still kind of separate. I actually, I watched it again earlier this year when Disney Plus came out, because it's on there. Mm-hmm. And after it came out, I immediately went to Facebook, I think. And I was just sort of like, okay, so we can all agree now that this is just a straight up horror movie, right? Like, this doesn't pretend to be anything else. Like, this isn't, like, you could probably throw in some fantasy in there, but this is a horror movie primarily. I'm pretty sure we all agree on that now, right?
Well, that Gump was pretty horrifying. That Gnome King. I mean, I love the claymation.
Oh God, yeah. No, I actually do really like it. And granted, I did not watch it when it was in any way current. I did watch it quite a bit later in life. Mm-hmm. I think I must have been in my mid-20s at some point.
I watched it after watching Waterboy, because I mean, Veruca.
Or my late teens. I was in my late teens when I saw it.
Yeah, what's her name? The girl there. She's the main character. Yeah, her. She was in Waterboy, and I looked into what else she had done, and I'm like, Return to Oz, this exists? So I watched it, and I was like, oh, wow, she's so young.
Making me want to track it down and rewatch it for some unknown reason. I kind of do
now that you know what it is, it won't traumatize you so much. You can enjoy it for its own twistedness, I think. You'll be okay.
It's 17. Maybe someday.
Well, when you do, come back and we'll talk about it.
Yes.
All right, I'd be up for that.
We'll do a water cooler episode where we talk about Return to Oz.
Yeah, and other like movies that scar you but are secondary to what was originally out there.
I do want to mention is Labyrinth is a lot darker than you realize when you like really analyze that movie. That movie's really, really dark. I did a whole episode about it. It is a really dark movie.
Oh boy, I should go back and watch that. It's been ages.
It's a really great movie, but if it's just like if you think of the coming of age story and you realize that in the beginning she has a book that has David Bowie is actually the character David Bowie is supposed to be her mother's new boyfriend. And then when you watch the movie with that context, it's a lot creeper.
Oh, God.
So,
oh, yeah. Good point. That's right. It does start that way. Shit.
If you want to listen to 3 hours of people talk about it, well, go to Games My Mom Found.
Yeah.
So,
I will have to do that.
It's a good movie.
Thank you. Mm-hmm.
And speaking of which, just as we wrap this up, Mike, why don't you give a couple of plugs for your show?
Sure. I host a retro video game podcast where we also talk about movies and comics every month, starting to be a little bit more. You can find us. We actually did an episode on Alice. Also, you can find us anywhere that you get your podcast. Same place you're listening to this one right now. As Rick said, we are on Podbean, but we're on everything. So, and it's Games My Mom Found all as one word because I screwed up when I was naming it, and I just went with it. So, it works now. I'm like, this is fine, but it wasn't on purpose.
I regret that we are unable to give you a URL to follow, but
just Google. Google will find me just fine now. I'll give you a link to post that connects right to Podbean, but hey, it's a link.
Any final thoughts on American McGee's Alice? Both of you.
Think the game came out at the right time. It was a little bit of bittersweet and action, and it really caught my attention. So I'd love to see it get out there so that more people can play it. So wherever it is, find it and put it up on GOG or something. Come on.
That'd be cool.
I wish it was on GOG or Steam.
And you actually had the big box for it, didn't you, Anna? Originally.
Don't talk to me about that.
Sorry.
Right now. I mean that.
You get another one on eBay. It's only $200 or more.
Well, let's just say I still have the CDs, so at least I have that.
Aw. I know that feel.
I was surprised how much I enjoyed this game since it's out of my wheelhouse, and it still holds up. Being a 20-year-old game, it's still really good, and I'm so happy I got to play it.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, then, I guess that wraps it up for today. Thank you so much for joining us once again, Mike.
Oh, thank you.
It's always a pleasure to have you, and I'm sure we'll have you on again soon. For those of you at home, please let us know what you think. We are on Facebook. We have a page. We have a group. Look for us, the Classic Gamers Guild. We are on Twitter at the CG Guild. We're on Instagram at CGG Podcast. You can find our website, www.cggpodcast.com, as well as whatever you happen to be using to listen to us right now. We are on Patreon. Find us there if you want to support the show. And again, if you follow us on Facebook and Twitter, we will give you more updates and information on the Quest for Kidney fundraiser that is happening later this month, Saturday, March 28th. All the information will be put up online over the next couple weeks. So hope to see you there. Hope you come out. Hope you throw a few dollars to help out a really good guy. Thank you all very much for joining us. And I don't know, Anna, I guess you can close off.
Make multiple save files and give them all descriptive names. Good night.
Oh, wait. Don't do a murder.